I remember the exact moment my career took a sharp turn. It was a Thursday in March, the kind of crisp southern morning where Charlotte's skyline looked almost painted against the blue sky. I had been at Horizon Tech for 7 years, built my reputation on solid work and dependable results, not flashy, just effective. My name is Adam Whitaker. I'm 38, and until recently, I led product strategy at a mid-sized tech firm in Charlotte, North Carolina. I wasn't the guy who made noise in meetings or dominated happy hours. I was the guy who delivered consistently, 3 successful product launches and a track record of growing company revenue by over 60% during my time there. To continue hearing this special and beautiful story, please like and subscribe to the channel. Write your name and the city you're watching from so I can include a special greeting for you in my next story. That Thursday, our newly appointed VP of Product Innovation, Marcus Reed, sat at the head of our strategy meeting. 6 weeks into the job, with his Ivy League MBA and designer suits, he'd been brought in to modernize our approach. 5 slides into my presentation on a real-time analytics feature I'd spent months developing, he raised his hand. "Adam," he said, not quite making eye contact, "this feels dated. We need fresh ideas. Maybe you've been here too long." The room went quiet. I looked around at colleagues, some I'd personally onboarded now avoiding eye contact. 7 years of loyalty, reduced to too long. That night, I stripped all Horizon branding from my presentation and emailed Jason Mercer, VP of Product at Vertex Solutions in Atlanta, a direct competitor struggling with innovation. "I have something you might want to see," I wrote, and hit send before I could second-guess myself. The following Monday, Jason Mercer was on the phone. "Adam, your email caught me off guard," he said, his Atlanta accent softening his words. "We don't typically entertain pitches from employees of direct competitors." "I'm not pitching as a Horizon employee," I wrote. "I'm pitching as an independent consultant with a solution to your customer retention problem." After discussing potential concerns about corporate espionage, which this wasn't, Jason suggested meeting in Charlotte that Wednesday where he'd be attending a conference. At a small coffee shop in Noda, Charlotte's arts district, Jason listened intently to my presentation, asking thoughtful questions that showed he understood both the technical details and market implications. "This is good, Adam. Really good. But why bring it to? Why not push harder at Horizon?" I told him about Marcus, about being dismissed in front of my team, about the fresh ideas comment, no embellishment, just facts. "Their loss might be our gain," he said, sliding a business card across the table. "Come to Atlanta this weekend, meet my team." That Friday, I drove to Atlanta, my mind racing with doubts and determination. Vertex's headquarters occupied the middle floors of a gleaming tower in Buckhead. I presented to a small team, including their CTO and head of sales. "This solves problems we've been grappling with for months," their CTO said after my presentation. "We'd leapfrog Horizon and 3 other competitors," added the head of sales. By meeting's end, we had the framework of a deal. A 5-figure upfront payment, plus ongoing licensing fees. I left with a handshake agreement and a promise of contract paperwork within days. That weekend, I drafted my resignation letter, feeling not guilt, but relief. Monday morning, I arrived early at Horizon, packed my few personal items, and handed my resignation letter to HR before most colleagues arrived. "Adam, is this because of what happened in the strategy meeting?" Vanessa from HR, "We can arrange a mediation with Marcus if this isn't an impulsive decision," I replied. "It's been coming for a while, not naughtily true, but not entirely false either." By 8:45 I had turned in my badge and laptop. As I left, I passed Marcus in the hallway. He nodded, probably assuming I was heading to our scheduled 9 a.m. meeting. I nodded back and kept walking. By noon, Marcus had emailed me. "Just heard from HR. I thought we were meeting this morning." I didn't reply. There was nothing left to say. That afternoon, I signed Vertex's contract. By evening, the first payment, larger than my monthly Horizon salary, had been deposited into my account. The next morning, my former team lead emailed, "Marcus is freaking out. He just realized you were leading the analytics project he killed. Now he's asking everyone for your note." I smiled at the irony. Now my ideas were valuable, now that they were gone. 2 weeks passed in a flurry of activity. I converted my home office into a proper workspace and dove into helping Vertex implement my analytics platform. Working with people who valued my expertise was intoxicating. When I spoke, they listened. When I suggested, they considered. When I cautioned, they heeded. Meanwhile, LinkedIn told me Horizon had posted a job for a senior product strategist with analytics expertise. Marcus was trying to replace me, to pick up the pieces of the project he'd dismissed, but he was already weeks behind. 16 days after my resignation, Horizon's legal department left a voicemail requesting I call regarding post-employment obligations. I forwarded it to the lawyer Jason had connected me with. Standard intimidation tactic, the lawyer assured me. They're fishing to see if you took anything proprietary. But your idea was rejected in a recorded meeting. You developed it independently, and Horizon has no claim. That evening, an old friend still at Horizon emailed, Marcus has been in closed-door meetings with legal all day. Jason called after I forwarded this information. This is good news, he said. It means they're scared. How soon can you finalize the implementation guide? We want to announce at the Industry Expo next month. The Expo, where every major player in our industry, including Horizon, would be showcasing their innovations, where clients would be looking for the next big thing. I can have it ready next week, I promised. The Industry Expo was held in Chicago that year. I watched the live stream from my home office, a strange experience after attending in person for 6 years. Vertex had a prime spot on the main floor. Their booth was dominated by a large screen displaying the interface of their new Client Pulse platform. My analytics solution, rebranded under their flagship product line. Jason took the stage for their presentation. Today, Vertex Solutions is proud to announce a revolutionary addition to our product suite, he said. Client Pulse represents the next generation of customer analytics, real-time, intuitive, and actionable. As he walked through the features, all my ideas, I felt a complex mix of pride and vindication. Then came the moment I'd been anticipating. We'd like to thank our brilliant independent consultant, Adam Whitaker, whose vision made Client Pulse possible. My name, on screen at a national expo, attached to an innovation that would change how companies understood their customers. My phone immediately began buzzing with notifications. Within an hour, Marcus emailed, "Did you see?" Attached was a screenshot from the Vertex presentation, showing my name in the credits. I stared at the email, considering how to respond. I chose the truth. Yes, I wrote it. He called repeatedly. I didn't answer. By evening, industry blogs were buzzing about Vertex's new platform. Some mentioned the strategic acquisition of talent from Horizon. None knew the full story, but they would soon. The next morning, Horizon's CEO requested a meeting. I agreed, not to return to Horizon, but for closure. We met in a private room at an upscale restaurant in Uptown Charlotte. The CEO brought Marcus and their head of legal. Adam, we believe the analytics platform you developed for Vertex was based on proprietary work at Horizon, the CEO began. I opened my laptop and played the recording of Marcus, dismissing my pitch. This feels dated. We need fresh ideas. Adam, you've been here too long. You rejected it, I said calmly, on record, in front of witnesses. After that meeting, I refined the concept on my own time, removed all company-specific elements, and offered it as an independent consultant. The head of legal started to speak about non-compete clauses, but the CEO raised his hand. The real question, he said, is why? 7 years, Adam. Why not fight harder for your idea here? Because respect has to be earned in both directions. I replied, and once it's broken, it's very hard to rebuild. The aftermath was swift and unexpected. Instead of legal threats, Horizon's CEO called the next day with a surprising proposal. They wanted to license Client Pulse from Vertex. We've lost this round, he admitted, but our clients are asking why our competitor has a solution they've been requesting from us for years. Meanwhile, Marcus's position at Horizon became increasingly precarious. I heard he was being excluded from key meetings, his authority quietly undermined. One evening, I spotted him alone at a bar. Our eyes met briefly before he looked away, but I saw something unexpected. Shame. I walked over and took the stool next to him. Adam, he acknowledged, voice slightly slurred. Come to gloat. No, I said honestly. Just saw you sitting here. You know they're pushing me out, right? He said. All because I didn't listen to you. It's not personal, I replied. It's business. That's where you're wrong. Business is always personal, because it's always about people. I forgot that. He paid his bill and Your idea really was brilliant. I knew it the moment I saw it at the expo. Then why did you dismiss it in that meeting? Because it wasn't mine, he finally admitted. Because I came in wanting to make my mark, and your idea didn't fit that narrative. Ego is expensive. Adam, remember that when you're riding high. 3 days later, news broke that Marcus had resigned from Horizon, effective immediately. The official statement cited personal reasons, but industry gossip told a different story. My former team at Horizon reached out one by one, first with congratulations, then with cautious inquiries about opportunities at Vertex. On the 5th day, Horizon's CEO visited my condo. The board asked for a full accounting of what happened, he said, after I invited him in. The truth is ugly, Adam. Truth often is, I replied. We fostered a culture where innovation was praised but not protected, where new voices were valued over experienced ones, where Marcus could dismiss your idea not because it lacked merit, but because it lacked the right messenger. He looked tired but resolved. I'm not here to ask you to come back. I'm here to ask what we should learn from this. I considered carefully before answering. Innovation doesn't care about hierarchy. Good ideas can come from anywhere, and the companies that succeed are the ones that create environments where those ideas can flourish, regardless of who proposes them. And what about loyalty? What would have kept you, even after Marcus's mistake? Acknowledgement, I said without hesitation. Not just of my idea, but of the pattern. Marcus didn't dismiss me in a vacuum. He did it in a culture that allowed it. As he stood to leave, he extended his hand. For what it's worth, Adam, I'm sorry. Not just for what happened with your idea, but for creating an environment where you felt your only option was to leave. That night, I accepted Vertex's offer to become their chief innovation officer. With one condition. I wanted to build a formal system for evaluating ideas based on merit, regardless of their source. I want to create what Horizon couldn't, I explained to Jason. A culture where good ideas thrive because they're good, not because of who proposes them. 3 months into my role at Vertex, client pulse had exceeded all expectations. Adoption rates were through the roof. Client feedback was overwhelmingly positive. One Tuesday morning, my phone rang with a number I didn't recognize. Adam, it's Marcus Reed. Of all people who might call, he was perhaps the last I expected. I'd like to meet, he said, his voice lacking the confidence I remembered. There's something I want to discuss with you. We met at a small cafe near my condo. He was dressed casually, the designer suits replaced by a simple button-down and jeans. He looked different, humbled perhaps. I'm starting my own consulting firm, he said after brief pleasantry, focusing on helping companies identify and nurture internal innovation, preventing situations like what happened with us. He paused. I'd like you to consider joining my advisory board. Not full-time, just occasional guidance. I couldn't hide my surprise. You want my advice, after everything, especially after everything, he replied. I made a massive mistake with you and your idea, a mistake that cost Horizon millions and cost me my career there. But it taught me something crucial about leadership that I might never have learned otherwise. I studied him, looking for signs of the arrogance I'd known. Instead, I saw something unexpected, genuine growth. Why me? I asked. There must be dozens of experts with less complicated history. Because you're not just an expert in innovation, you're an expert in what happens when innovation is mishandled. He handed me a business card. Perspective Innovation Consulting. Perspective, I repeated, noting the significance. Something I gained the hard way, he acknowledged with a self-deprecating smile. I promised to consider his offer, discuss it with Vertex, and let him know. By the time I flew to Atlanta that afternoon, I had decided to accept not to help him specifically, but to help ensure other innovators wouldn't face the dismissal I had experienced. 6 months after joining Marcus's advisory board, our unlikely partnership had become the talk of the industry. His consulting firm was growing rapidly, bringing our shared message about innovation culture to companies across the Southeast. The irony wasn't lost on me. The man who had dismissed my ideas was now building a business around valuing them properly. But I'd come to respect how thoroughly Marcus had learned from his mistake, how genuinely he worked to prevent others from repeating it. Meanwhile, Client Pulse had become the industry standard, with Horizon among its many licensees. What began as a rejected idea in a Charlotte conference room was now generating millions in revenue and transforming how companies understood their customers. Vertex had given me free rein to build my innovation evaluation system, which we called Merit Path. The premise was simple but revolutionary. Ideas were submitted anonymously, evaluated by cross-functional teams, and only revealed their source after initial assessment. The results were striking. We saw breakthrough concepts from unexpected places: junior developers, sales representatives, even the maintenance staff. Turns out, when you remove hierarchy from innovation, you discover talent everywhere. At an industry conference in San Francisco, I found myself sharing the stage with Marcus, presenting a joint session on innovation culture, lessons from the Client Pulse story. We told our shared history honestly: his dismissal of my idea, my departure, and our eventual reconciliation around a common purpose. The most expensive mistake of my career, Marcus admitted to the packed room, taught me the most valuable lesson: that ego is the enemy of innovation. After our presentation, Horizon's CEO approached us. "You two have turned a corporate dispute into a movement," he said. "We've implemented our own version of Merit Path. It's changing our entire culture." That night, as Marcus and I shared a celebratory dinner, he raised his glass. "To fresh ideas," he said, with a knowing smile. "And to recognizing them," I added, "no matter where they come from." 1 year to the day after I walked out of Horizon, I stood in their lobby again, not as an employee, but as a guest speaker for their Innovation Summit. My session: The Ideas We Miss, Building a Culture of Innovation from Within. The invitation had come from Horizon's CEO himself, acknowledging our shared history, while looking toward a different future. The conference room was packed: executives, managers, developers, interns. In the front row sat the CEO, and beside him, Marcus, now an external innovation consultant for Horizon. "A year ago, I sat in a meeting room not far from here and pitched an idea I believed in," I began. "That idea was dismissed, not because it lacked merit, but because of who proposed it. Today, that idea, Client Pulse, is the industry standard, licensed by over 30 companies, including Horizon." I paused, noting the shifting expressions. I could tell you what went wrong, who made mistakes. But innovation is about looking forward. So instead, I want to talk about what Horizon is doing right now, and what all of us can learn from both our successes and our failures. For the next hour, I shared insights from my journey, from Horizon to Vertex, to my advisory role with Marcus. I talked about creating environments where ideas flourish, regardless of their source, about respectful disagreement, about the dangers of valuing hierarchy over innovation. After the session, Horizon's CEO approached me. "Thank you," he said simply, "not just for today, but for being willing to help us learn from what happened." As I prepared to leave, Marcus walked me to the elevator. "Your talk was excellent," he said, "especially the part about ego being the enemy of innovation. Sometimes the most expensive lessons are the most valuable. Do you ever regret leaving?" he asked as the elevator arrived. I considered carefully. I regret that it was necessary, but I don't regret where it led me. Leaving the building, I walked to the small coffee shop where I used to start my mornings as a Horizon employee. My phone buzzed with a text from Jason. "How did it go?" I typed back, "Better than expected. I think they're really changing things." His response came quickly. "Because of you." I put my phone down and sipped my coffee. What had begun as a response to dismissal had evolved into something much more significant, not just personal vindication, but a catalyst for positive change. I had sold my idea to a competitor and watched my former boss panic. But in the end, the most important part wasn't proving others wrong. It was creating spaces where everyone's contributions are valued correctly from the start. And that, perhaps, was the freshest idea of all.